Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is John Lee, who's the CEO and executive chairman of Silver Elephant, a TSX and OTC listed mining company with a growing silver production from its 100% owned Pulacayo-Paca mining project in Bolivia. John has an economics and engineering degree and is a CFA charter holder and an accredited investor who specialises in M&A, raising over 150 million through the TSX and TSX Venture Exchange for junior companies since 2009. He's going to talk through Silver Elephant, their company, their history, the political and economic risks operating in Bolivia, and obviously what's it like as a mining jurisdiction. And it's going to give us more insight to the silver market. John, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Thank you for the invite and first time being on the show, and also thank you thank you for the very kind and extended introduction.
Yeah, no worries. As we always start these podcasts off, just wondering if you can tell our audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your career, just so the audience knows a little bit about your background, how you got into mining, etc., sort of to present day.
Yeah, Robin, I am a Taiwanese native, and I started my career actually in the late 90s in the Silicon Valley, and then transitioned into the mining industry in early 2000. So I have over 25 years of experience in the mining industry. The first 10 years is accredited retail investors, no different from some of your audience, and picking and choosing mining stocks to invest. And then after the financial crisis in 2010, I thought it was being interesting to sort of delve into the other side of the industry of running a mining company. So in the last 15 years, I've raised over $150 million through the Toronto Stock Exchange, Toronto Ventures Exchange. I travel over 35 countries and acquire various different projects across the world. My specialization is silver, and I started reading the likes of Ted Butler, and that was Morgan, and James Turk was my mentor. And I was also quite involved in the inception and the sort of activities at GATA at a very, very early going in early 2000. And like I said, blink of an eye, it's been 15 years and a double full-time job running mining companies.
How can you, I just wonder if you can just provide us a little bit of a background on Silver Elephant and obviously the Pulacayo project that the company owns and is obviously in production.
Certainly. Silver Elephant has been around for 15 years, but it's only gotten into silver in 2016. And prior to that, the name was formerly known as Prophecy. And so I looked at this project. I always liked this Pulacayo silver project. I was an investor of the project back in 2005 when I first set foot in Bolivia. And when the opportunity came to acquire the project in 2015, when that junior company sort of switched focus to cannabis at the time, and Prophecy, which I was the CEO, acquired that project. Pulacayo is the second largest silver mine based on historical production. It's probably the largest underground silver mine in the world, and it was the silver in Pulacayo back in the 1800s that helped the Spaniard conquer the Western civilization, and also the silver from Pulacayo that built the 600-kilometer railway to Antofagasta, which used to be part of Bolivia territory but lost. That territory was ceded to Chile in the war that ensued in the early 90s. Overall, the project has over 107 million ounces of indicated silver. It's been extended drill out to over 120,000 meters of drilling. The mine is in production today, mining at about close to 100 tons per day through a joint venture with our partner Andean Precious Metals, which is also a TSX listed company. Actually, coming up to October, it will be the 1-year anniversary of commissioning. It's actually the Paca project, which is satellite deposit of Pulacayo. And I think by October, the production would pass the 1 million silver ounce threshold production mark without any incident, environmental issues, and without any, like I said, without any safety incidents. So we're very excited about it, and I think that the stock is starting to reflect that. The stock is up 50% on Friday, so it's a bit of a interesting timing that we had this conversation.
Yes, certainly. I want to speak about obviously Bolivia as a mining jurisdiction. How do you manage the political and economic risks working in such a jurisdiction? And what advantages do you have within obviously the mining regions that you're working in, and obviously offer in terms of stability, community relations, and obviously potential growth potential?
Yeah, Rob, I have just a bit of background. We have acquired projects in Canada, in the Yukons, in Manitoba, in Mongolia, in Bolivia, in Nevada, and I've also done due diligence of projects in Peru, in Colombia, and many different countries. I first came to Bolivia in 2005, and it was just opening its door, and tried quite a bit of foreign investment. And then when Evo Morales came in 2007, really shut the door for better part of more than a decade to 2020. Bolivia works really not much different from any other jurisdiction, like the United States and Canada, right? The pendulum swing between the Democrats and Republicans, and in the case of Bolivia, it's pro foreign investment versus anti foreign investment. So for the better part of 15 years since Morales came on, the foreign investment has been negative in Bolivia across the board, not just in mining. So that means that there's divestitures and sales of investments by investors and leaving Bolivia. Morales is a very smart person, and he realized that this trend it's not sustainable to finance his social programs. Since 2007, there's really been a bit of a change of tonality of tones, and that the foreign investment started pouring in. It's not so much that Morales is anti-investment per se. It's just the rhetoric has changed. All in the meanwhile, the mining companies that has stayed in Bolivia since the year 2000 has done very well. I mean, Sumitomo, which is operating one of the largest open pit silver mine in the world, and Bolivia is actually the 6th largest silver producer, despite all the lack of foreign investments. It actually produces more silver per year than Argentina. So overall, Bolivia has a manageable geopolitical profile, but obviously, there's this what the media portray Bolivia as versus what is really happening within the country. I mean, we can talk about Bolivia for hours, but overall, Rob, it is one of the most economic stable countries in South America. Like, its currency has been pegged to the dollar for 13 years, and economic growth has been fairly steady at around 3 to 6% a year. And living personally in Bolivia from 2015 to 2022, since we acquired the project in the last almost 9 years, I have lived in Bolivia cumulatively for over 2 years, and sometimes a block of 6 months at a time. I can definitely see also, clocking back from 2005, there has been very steady progress in the growth and well-being of average Bolivian person. So what I mean by that is, they have cable cars in the city of La Paz, which is the most populous city, and it's not growing like China or Mongolia, but you are seeing steady progression of buildings and of wealth. And also in terms of infrastructure, I believe infrastructure of Bolivia is actually comparable, if not superior, than that of Peru and Colombia. There's highways, there's solar, there's ample power, and there's a very good infrastructure all around in Bolivia. And then you don't have a drug problem like the Mexicans and like Colombia. And in terms of community relations, Bolivia has a very strong mining tradition. And we're also very fortunate to be working with the town of Pulacayo, which again, it's got a 300-year rich mining tradition. So I think all in all, the community is also quite manageable. I would just say in conclusion on the subject matter is that I always tell people, investors, when they ask this question, having traveled the world for over 30 years and lived physically in 3 different continents for extended period of time, is the subject of mining is always, it's not so much country specific or federal policies. It's always got to do with the local communities. If you're not in good standing with the local community, that only invites trouble at the federal or provincial level. And when push comes to shove, the government is not going to side with you. It doesn't matter. There's the law. That's what I call the rule of law, rule of logic, and rule of relationship. The rule of law only play a part of it, but the rule of relationship also play an integral part of it. And the third is the rule of logic as well. I mean, if the silver price all of a sudden triples, or if you made a major discovery, you cannot expect, the agreement that you had done with the locals that had paid you $3,000 a month to stand. So I think a lot of the companies that go in, especially from North American mining executives, maybe with not so much experience in going into these third world countries, they were just withholding that piece of paper, right, as gospel. And that is not the way. That just cannot be the way that you do business. You have to be logical. You have to be also build relationships. The way to do that is with time. And we're just very fortunate to have forged a very strong local community relationship since 2005 when I stepped foot on that project, and we have recruited and retained all that people that I've known for last 20 years, and so we have a very strong relationship. This is one of our strongest suit. So overall, Bolivia is a manageable country, and specifically for our project, because of our long-standing relationship with the local community, which has a very strong mining tradition, really sort of and that's why we're able to go to production in the last 12 months without any interruption. So we feel that the risk is manageable, and Bolivia is a country that has really, the pendulum has swum from sort of not so much welcoming investment to welcoming investment. And in the last 5 years alone, probably $1 billion being raised in Bolivia through a lot of the international companies. So I would say it's a manageable situation, but it has to be assessed on the project.
How's the company addressing its sustainability and environmental concerns with its operation, and how do you plan to scale up the operation in the coming years?
Right. In terms of sustainability is really a bit of a buzzword, Rob, to be honest. Different person has different interpretations. From my own personal point of view is, first of all, we're a guest to the town of Pulacayo. If you look about ESG, there's environmental, social, and governance, and people write chapters about it, and there's high-power lawyers. That's $800 an hour trying to make sure you're compliant, and that's the best standard practice. So I'm not going to give you the cookie-cutter answer. But rather, I think in the case specific to Pulacayo, we want to make sure that we leave. I mean, overall, my overall philosophy is to leave the project eventually when we sort of deplete the project, the resources, right? We'll leave the place better than when we entered it. From environmental, from economic, and just from the overall, from safety, environmental, and from economics. These are our major pillars. So I think from an environmental perspective, obviously we're not going to be like California, where the law of California is you gotta make that place look exactly like before you enter it, which is not really very reasonable. But we want to make sure, however, that the water quality is protected. So we do a lot of water sampling to make a baseline study is observed, and that we do not deteriorate, right, what they already had. So in terms of environmental, in terms of noise, in terms of air quality, so we want to make sure that environmental aspects is absolutely preserved. And from economic perspective, which is what is really of their interest, is that we're already the largest employer of the town of Pulacayo. So we want to make sure we hire locally. And then also we obviously making sure that we're paying our fair share of taxes and royalties, of which we're making material and significant royalties payments to the provincial, local, and federal government. And then we also bring on a lot of not just economic benefits, but skills and training in terms of exploration. So we trained a lot of local geologists. For example, we brought a local geologist who's been with us for 3 years. We accelerated his path to becoming a qualified person, so he's able to, sign his name on any projects worldwide and be recognized for the qualification that he has. So we also bring a lot of emphasis in accounting, in exploration, in mining, operating machineries, in economic aspects of it. And then lastly, we want to make sure that our operation is within the safety standards. And that is also very, very important to us. So my definition of ESG is to make sure that we provide economic and benefits and skill training. We ensure that the safety and environmental protocols are adhered to the absolute highest standards.
And I think second part of that question, how are you looking to scale up the operation?
The resources are massive, so we don't rely on additional discoveries in order to expand our operations. So there has been some studies in the past that would provide scenarios of minings up to 4 to 5 to 10 million, 4 to 8 million ounces a year. So that will place Pulacayo as one of the largest primary silver producer listed on the TSX. So in answering the question is, we've demonstrated the ability to be mining about 1,000 tons per day, and we're also demonstrating the ability to be working in harmony with the local community. And now it's a matter of scaling up, and that requires additional studies and expansion of our operation from mining, from processing, and from logistics and transportation. And so we put out the news release that right now we're mining just the oxide cap, which is a cap of the resource that account for 8% of the overall Pulacayo global resource, and the 90% of the resource is actually sulfide, which is a different processing. So we will be beginning phase 1 of the sulfide operation, albeit small in scale. But then, so by middle of next year, we will be having 2 sets of operation carrying in parallel, which is the oxide operation and the sulfide operation. So just like a lot of the silver mining companies out there, I'm not sure if you talk to Endeavor Silver or even First Majestic, for example, Fortuna Silver and Silver Corp, for example. I mean, these silver projects all started, right, small in scale. But we're very, very confident, given my personal knowledge of the project, all the experts that we've talked to, that this is really an elephant, and hence the name was derived of our company, to be able to scale this project at the right silver price. And then we're going to execute our project steadily in this volatile silver market, and making sure that we don't have issues. I mean, there's a lot of our peers have gone under, by taking out debt and maybe too aggressively expanding the project, and then met with some issues, and maybe that's without outside of their control, and the company went down. I mean, there's like Grey Panthers, for example. Ascot is another example in BC. So we're debt free. We're gonna keep it that way, and we just want to make sure that every step of the way, and when we expand, that we deliver value to shareholders. So we're very, very risk averse from that regard.
Obviously, gold and silver has increased has sort of increased price, and obviously breaking out to the upside over the last 6 months or more. And obviously, following the 50 basis points the Fed rate has cut. What are your thoughts on that going into the fourth quarter of obviously 2024 and going into next year?
Right, Rob, if you were to follow my Twitter, just search John Lee Silver Elephant on Twitter. About this time of last year, towards November, December, I said this is the absolute best time. All the stars are aligned. Back then, gold was about 1,800 and silver was low 20s. And the reason I said that because the dollar was toppy at about 108, and interest rate was also peaking. So I thought that was and the metals traded is antithesis to the dollar, the opposite direction of the dollar, negatively correlated. And so looking forward, I also packed the price of my target for gold at 2,800. And the reason I said that is the classic cup and handle formation. The neckline was 2,000, and the bottom of the cup was 1,200, which is 2015. So to extrapolate, if you extrapolate on the linear scale, then 800, the gap of 800 flip on the other side would be 2,800. So gold has gone on to 2,700, and which is only less than 4% shy of making that $2,800 target. My target for silver was 50. Obviously, silver has been a laggard. It's very unfortunate. So I think to answer your question, Rob, my outlook on gold and silver is a bit more reserved for the next 18 months. Not maybe not same as some of your analysts. And the reason is, like I said, first of all, gold has had $1,000 run up in the last 12 months, and it is coming up to that sort of the resistance level from the simple extrapolation of the cup and handle formation. And secondly, the dollar has gone from has taken a bath from 108 to 100. So sometimes people say you sell. Well, in the case of the dollar, is you sell rumor and you buy on news, because cut is so long being advertised, and now the cut, and then the cut finally happened, and you're seeing that dollar, is not making any more, it's not exhibiting any more weakness. So the dollar is sitting at a dollar index at 100, which is a very, very strong support. And I just don't see, I mean, unless the Fed cut interest rates from current 4.5% down to, say, 2% range, I don't see that as a scenario. So I think any disappointment in the pace of, in the aggressiveness of the fast cutting, if the Fed doesn't cut as aggressive as the street anticipated, and I think the dollar is going to be surprised to the upside, and that is going to have a negative connotation and negative impact on the gold and silver. And also, the election also has a lot of election also has a lot to do with gold and silver. And so I don't see gold and silver breaking out at least until after the election, much akin to the 2020 election. There's a lot of management of the metal prices, and we can talk about whether the Democrat and Republican elect how will to do the metal prices, because it will have a different trajectory, but the outcome is certain, but the trajectory will be different. So overall, I'm a bit reserved. I think the gold is going to have a hard time taking out 2,800, but I could be wrong. And the silver, and along with copper and energy and all of the base metals, is being really a bit of a lagger because of the slowdown in the global economy. And unless gold takes out 2,800, I just don't see how. Gold is really sort of leading the pack while everybody was waiting to follow. So if silver and energy prices and copper and palladium, platinum have to make a run, then the window is very narrow. Gold has to stay here or even go above, and while these guys catch up. So it's either gold get nailed down like the rest of the guys, or the guys playing catch up, of which I think the window of that window is increasingly becoming very narrow.
Yeah, and obviously following on from that, obviously the miners have been lagging relative to obviously the price action of precious metals. When do you anticipate the miners entering that catch-up phase and obviously outperform the price of gold and silver relative to obviously their production and their production targets?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts on that. I think first, I have a couple of thoughts on that. I mean, for example, gold mining companies done probably a little bit better than the other base metals and silver companies. But silver companies, by and large, they're a shadow of its former self, even say 2021. And the reason is the metals haven't really caught up to inflation. So the mining companies really haven't delivered cash flow and dividend to shareholders. So there's really no reason. So the shares haven't really caught up to the metal prices because the metal prices themselves haven't caught up to inflation. And so if you were to measure, say, measure, say, the Nasdaq or the Dow divided by price of gold, right? It's near the bottom of the barrel, and then they measure shares as a function of the metal prices even lower. So I mean, just about mining shares is probably just about the worst thing you could have invested in the last 10 years. It's a little unfortunate. Why is that? Then you ask the question: why haven't the metals caught up with all the geopolitical uncertainties, with all the inflation, with all the bullish? It can get bullish. You're having wars. You're having, economic war with largest economies in China and the United States. I was in China for a week, and then you have Ukraine war going on. I mean, it used to be the case. Remember when North Korea fired a missile and everything go haywire? Right now, you have people that are dying by the hundreds of thousands every month, and yet the world doesn't even seem to even have a hiccup. So I think the reason for that, Rob, I have studied the metals market for 25 years, and I've done more than my share of studies and more than I want to know. Given my background I was not born a miner, is that the metal prices are very, very heavily managed, and gold and silver has always been money. And what we were seeing is a terminal stage of fiat in a way, and that in order to achieve the 2030 agenda, and in order to continue to fuel all these different programs and all the different mandates, from health mandate, travel mandate, and to all the different craziness out there, the metal prices have to be kept at bay. And also, there's the very aggressive rollout of the digital currency, which is another level of mandate. And in order to do that, they really want to keep the metals at bay, and hopefully having digital currency as a way to further keep the lid on the metal prices, because there's really not a way for the powers that be to stop you from buying metals. You can't really do that. I mean, we can talk about like the mint. They can throttle the supply of metals to the mint, but you can still buy gold and silver, across the world. But I think eventually what will happen in the next 24, 48 months is start rollout of the euro already in certain parts of Asia, like Thailand. And once the digital currency can roll out, then it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to buy metals or to travel or to eat the things you want, buy the things you want, go to places you want to go. And so they're using these micro mandates via digital currency to try to elongate, right, their control via the money. It's not about your political affiliation. It's not about your beliefs and thoughts of religion. It's all about, eventually, it's about philosophical. It's all about money. Because if the money stops flowing, right, the world would become peace. There's no more export of arms. There's no more subsidies of the government. There's not even going to be immigrants that come in, because the government cannot subsidize these programs. And the neighbors will be up in arms to try to protect their territory. So I think everything is all centered on the dollar, on the money. That's why it's so important that the gold and metal prices are so well managed. And I can't remember the question, but I was just saying that the metals will have to continue to be very heavily managed. About gold and mining silver companies. So you have gold and silver that's very heavily managed, that haven't reflected to their true value, which could have been the value of a crypto. I mean, it could easily be 4-digit, and silver could easily be triple-digit, and which is where they should be. And I can write articles about it. I've written hundreds of articles on gold and silver. But mining companies haven't caught up for two reasons. One is they haven't delivered cash flow and dividend. And secondly, Rob, and not a lot of people talk about it, but it should be talked about. I believe in an ordinary day, without any company-specific news, 80% of the volume of mining shares are through algo and through shorts are managed as well. Because you certainly don't want to have metal prices being low and then all the money falling to mining companies because there's no other outlets for gold and silver bars. And then you have that disparity, and the people will be wondering why are silver prices, mining shares go bananas where gold prices are down and mining shares are not delivering dividends. So the naked shorts are well documented. And I believe the like of the First Majestic, even Silver Elephant, there is extended amount of algo trading in order to manage these share prices. Fortunate, but that's just where we are.
And obviously, you're precious metals and silver sort of expert. When do you foresee the future of silver as an investment and its role in, I suppose, global industries and probably being used as an industrial metal as well?
Right. Rob, I just want to roll back because I get a little passionate and excited every time I talk about metals and the world outlook and world travels. Is everything I said is through deductive reasoning and critical thinking. Because I was born and my father was a agricultural farmer. My mother was a Chinese teacher. I was a .com. I'm 50 years old. I was a .com person, programming, engineering, accounting. So I like metals and mining is furthest from what I had in mind when I grow up. And so my exposure is only the last 20 years by sort of through accident, because my girlfriend was from Vancouver and went to California to Vancouver, and all of a sudden I got exposed to it. So I suppose everything's fate. It was not I was born a conspiracy theorist, but it's through deductive reasoning and critical thinking. Now, let's talk about silver. Silver is a tricky metal. 70% is industrial and 30% is investment. And I look at silver, the outlook for silver, really not from physical industrial perspective, because it's always the investment demand that drive the metal prices or drive any market for that matter. I mean, if you look at if you use affordability as an indicator for real estate, right? You would have been the last person to get the market right. So it's always that speculative money flow that drive the market. If you look at another example, for example, oil in the 2021 financial crisis, the pandemic, oil went to negative. I mean, it's not like people don't cook or don't drive anymore. So that just shows you how incredible the magnitude of investment demand and pressure or upside can be exerted by the investment demand towards a particular commodity, even the upside or the downside. So if you look at investment demand, then you're looking at say annual silver production is about 1 billion ounces. So the investment demand for silver is only 300 million ounces. At about $30 silver, it's a $10 billion investment demand for silver. So I think my point in answering your short answer is nobody would have a clue what's going to happen to silver. Nobody knew silver is going to go from 15 to 50 in 1980. The one brother came in, or silver went from again 20 to 50 in early 2011 when a few Chinese rumored Hong Kong people went and bought a couple $100 million physical silver. And nor do we know the reason silver went from 18 to right now 33. Nobody really knows. And but it will not take a whole lot of effort in today's swing of fiats, trillions of dollars, to make a run at silver. And then the way they do it, unfortunately, Rob, will not be going to the COMEX, right? Going to the ETFs and start gobbling up. Because instead of getting your physical delivered to your doorstep, you're going to get a knock on the door by the feds and asking why you are buying all the hoarding all the physicals, and whether you are associated with Al Qaeda or some other form of terrorist. So, but for all we know, maybe that scheme, this attack on silver has started. We don't know, and nobody knows, and that's why the way to really sort of profit from silver, I don't really look at from say profiting point of view, because to profit you're measuring in dollars. The way I'm like my family started buying gold and silver, particularly gold, since last year at 1850, because we want to get away from the micro mandates. We want to be able to travel. Like, for example, to go from Taiwan to New York, it's 1,000 tons of carbon. Somebody's already calculating that, because when you go to United, you buy the ticket that tells you how much carbon. And now there's discussion about capping per capita carbon consumption at 1,000 tons. So what that means, if you take a one-way flight, you're done for your carbon consumption for the year. And that means you're going to eat tofu for the rest of the year. And this is not a joke. This is not a joke. It's happening. And so we just want to get away from the micro mandates. And if you think you can use your grandma phone, right, digital phone, to try to circumvent this digital wallet or digital currency, well, good luck again, because this world is gone to facial recognition. Like, for example, just travel to United States. I'm not even a U.S. citizen, and they don't even check my boarding pass, like, or passport controls or immigration. I look at the screen, and then you say, "Oh, John Lee, green," right? And it's the same absolute system when I enter Taiwan. It's the same system when I went to Thailand only 2 weeks ago. I was shell shocked because I don't have any status or residency status in Thailand. It's the same system. So you've been doing this thumbprint and iris scan, right, for how long already? And the whole system, I'm afraid to say, is now integrated. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide. And unfortunately, if you do run afoul because there's something improper or there's something not to the likings of the power that be, you're not even be able to get on a train, unfortunately. So under all this set of circumstances, I would say, you know what? Let's just buy some gold and silver, because that is really the only solution to this micro mandates. And this is, I think that's the reason that gold has really departed from everything else. Centibillionaires, the billionaires, right? The Elon Musk, maybe Jeff Bezos, or the Zaras, or the OVMH, or the Koch brothers, right? People that don't want to get in politics, and they just want to keep their status quo and maintain their living standards. They don't want to be messing with part of all this craziness or enrolled in one particular party affiliation or belief system. And so, that is really the reason that gold has gone up so much. It's not so much inflation or none of that. It's really to get away from these micro mandates, which is imminent.
And lastly, what's the short-term and long-term vision for Silver Elephant? And have you got an exit plan or exit strategy at the moment?
Right, we were one of the highest flyers. This is elephant with wings back in 2011. And then, the stock has gone down around 90% from the 2021 high. Part of the reason was the collapse of the silver price, just like in the subsequent carnage seen by all the silver juniors. But part of that also, Rob, is our own doing, because we had a corporate restructuring where Silver Elephant was spun 4 ways. So all the non-silver assets were spun out of Silver Elephant. So there were some nickel investors and vanadium investors, and that were not silver focused, and they sold the Silver Elephant shares once they got their Spinkle shares. The stock is around 90% from, well, it's about 80% from, it was 3 years ago, but it has already doubled from the low. And in fact, the stock went up 40% on a Friday. So we're one of the few companies, and I financed the company personally. We had done very few small dilution, around less than 20% of the company's shares outstanding. So we really preserved our share count, have advanced the project to production, and the production is going to increase, and the cash flow is also going to increase. The operation netted the company about $2.5 million US, and after all the expenses, and we're due to receive another $2.5 million US check in January, 3 months from now, from our partner. So, that really minimized our dilution. We cut a lot of non-discretionary expenditures, cut out marketing expenses and all that. So you don't see me as often as maybe some of the audience did before, 3-4 years ago. And I think our plan is to continue to cautiously expand our operation, watch our purse, and then increase our cash flow. In terms of exit strategy, our story is not so much window dressing and hoping for a suitor, right? Because we're growing production, we've demonstrated the ability to produce at a positive margin. So we're going to continue to expand, and then look at if there's a suitor that make offers, we just make sure that we continue to de-risk the project, make data available, and we're not holding up somewhere. Make our data available to people that are interested, and we have actually 3 or 4 companies are in our data room right now, and that's why I was just in China last week, and because they caught the attention of a lot of different producers that are looking for not like a hole in the wall, big assets, but requires $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion go to production. But we're in production. This is the ideal profile for a major company looking to increase their production, but also sort of a stomach sort of tolerable risk. So this is a sort of an ideal profile for as an emerging producer to be accretive to add to their existing production pipeline. So we don't have any particular exit strategy, but as a chartered financial analyst, in conclusion is I want to make sure that I buy a particular mining project when the underlying metal prices is 20% near the bottom, and I will sell it when I believe the metal prices is 20% near the top. So I don't believe that it's the case for silver. It's just undervalued from inflation, also relative to the price of gold. So I would say probably when silver takes out its all-time high of $50, and I'm patient, and we don't have a big sort of time is on our side, and we're just really I'm just very pleased to I'm so happy. I'm not proud, but I'm just very pleased with how far our company has gone, and we're steadily getting that recognition. But in terms of value per ounces in the ground, or our production pipeline profile, even our country profile compared to our peers in operating in Bolivia, we're still magnitudes undervalued because we're still getting that sour taste of the guys that had come in 3-4 years ago. But over time, if we manage our dilution carefully, manage our cash flow carefully, manage our expenses carefully, and continue to build, solidify our foundation, I think we're going to enlist and recruit and enroll a lot more supporters and shareholders in the weeks and months to come.
John, appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us an update on the Silver Elephant, and what a success story from being someone that's just interested in precious metals to then taking over a company and putting it into production. From what you said, it's just going to go from strength to strength. And appreciate you giving us your point of view, obviously on the precious metal space, and some of the other things that you spoke about, why you should own physical silver or gold, take it outside of the system, so you've got more control over your finances. So I really appreciate you educating our audience, and giving some of our audience and most of our audience are from the mining industry, just giving them something else to think about, because some of the things that you said, they may not necessarily be thinking about at the moment. So I really appreciate your time. To reach out to you if they've got any questions, if they want to follow the company, and obviously follow yourself. As you mentioned, you're actively on Twitter. How can they go about doing that? What social media platform channels are you across?
Check me out at Twitter. Just search John Lee Silver Elephant. Like I said, I used to write hundreds of articles and appeared on KitCode and a lot of different financial news outlets like BNN and conferences, but I just haven't done as much. You will see a lot of charts and forecasts of just my observation of the market and some of my travels on Twitter. And also go to silverelef.com and check out the latest news on Silver Elephant. We just shot a video of the Paca mining activities in production. 60 trucks are leaving and coming in and leaving Pulacayo-Paca on a daily basis. So that also gives you sort of a flavor of what the company's up to.
Yeah, great. Well, again, thank you for your time. Hopefully you can come on maybe next year, give us an update of any expansions that you've done in the business, and maybe to see where we are from everything that you've said, where we are maybe in 6 to 9 months' time. It'd be good to get an update from you.
And real quick, the symbol on the TSX is ELEF, and over the OTC is SILEF. Look forward to coming back and up to you guys.
Yeah, no worries. And we'll include all those in the show notes of companies anyway for easy access. So thank you again for your time, John, and all the best for the remainder of the year.
Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. It's an episode I think you definitely need to share with not just necessarily people within our mining industry, but people outside of our mining industry. Obviously, John's alluded to why you should own precious metals, whether it's gold, whether it's silver. There's a lot of things happening in the economy globally, and for you to maybe be your own bank and obviously take more control of your financial situation. And obviously John's alluded to some of the issues that potentially could come up and maybe even starting to happen in various parts of the world. So like always, appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes far and wide so we can educate our mining industry, but also people outside of our mining industry. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.